and welcome to Aspure Multimedia Studio, where True Talk makes pure sense. I am Felicity Jubu, and with me here in the studio is a veteran communicator, an expert storyteller, an experienced public relations person. He is the Director General of Strategic Communications of the Nasarawa State government, Mr. Yakubu Lamai. It's so good to have you in the studio today.
Thank you.
We are so thrilled to have you.
I'm really honored. All of the very glowing tributes. I was actually blushing ebony. I'm like, is this me she's talking about?
Thank
you.
You're welcome. So it's a pleasure. All right, sir. There appears to be an issue with the government and teachers being relieved of their duties in the state. How would you say the government is handling the scandal of the teachers' recruitment here in Nasarawa State?
First, I'd like to commend Aspure. You know, this is groundbreaking for us in Nasarawa State. The fact that you have a studio that is world-class, very qualitative, and that would actually dissipate knowledge and, you know, carry on correcting perception management about the state. It's really very commendable. And I would really love that whoever is, you know, watching us would actually support this channel in everything that you're doing. So it's really a huge pleasure and privilege for me to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Now, the Nasarawa State government, under the leadership of His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule, and he has been governor for about 5 years now, 2019 till this point. Evidences show that education in Nasarawa State has been given utmost priority. In fact, it is the center point legacy of the governor. From 2019 till now, every year, annual budgets that are created by the state government, education takes the lion's share. Now, usually the United Nations, the UN has a benchmark. The UN recommends that if you're expending money on, general budgetary expenditure, you should allocate at least 20%. Now, because of the high level of importance attached by Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule to education from 2019, we have gone beyond and above that 20% of the UN benchmark. In the first year, he allocated 26%, then he moved to 31%, then he moved to 36%, and it's been like that. You know, astronomically, the trajectory has been that there's always been increase in the education budget in Nasarawa State. But, you know, you have to go to the root cause before you talk about the teachers.
Yes.
And Nasarawa State, since it was created in 1996, has had different governments. And each of these governments they either create schools or they remodel schools, and they also employ teachers. Now, for Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule, he said to himself, for you to rehabilitate, improve education in Nasarawa State, you need to have a baseline survey. Yes. So the minute he came, that's in 2019, May 29th, by December, just about 4 months after he was governor, in December, he contracted the Faculty of Sociology in the Federal University in Lafayette and gave them 4 months to do what's called a baseline survey, which meant they went around all the schools of Nasarawa State, primary schools, public primary schools, and secondary schools, about over 1,000 or so public schools, and then over 400 secondary schools. They were trying to look at things like how many schools have enough chairs, how many the roofs are not leaking, how many even have gates for security, what is the curriculum, and then what is the quality of the teachers that are imparting knowledge. Are they enough? Are they proficient? Do they even know the problem? And we found that 70%, and what he studied was that Nasarawa State has a debilitating, devastating deformation in education, well over 70% in all the aspects. You don't have qualified teachers, you don't have enough facilities, you don't even have the schools. And one of the startling revolutions was that previous governments had come and they will build schools in the cities where you can see them on the road just for political campaigns. But if you go to the far-flung corners of the state, deep in the hinterland, you don't find the schools. And some of the schools that you find children under trees, one or two desks are efforts by the village people themselves. And sometimes maybe during the raining season or famine season, even the villages themselves take the students from school. Yes. So these were the problems. And that was why the governor concentrated on trying to make sure teachers were available and teachers were of quality. Now, the previous government had engaged, not employed, engaged like 1,125 teachers, but had not given them formal engagement, formal employment, pensionable. It was Engineer Abdullah Esuli that did it. And right after that, within the last 5 years, he gave approval for them to employ more teachers, 1,000 teachers, 500 teachers. The very last one you're referring to, the governor gave again approval for 1,000 teachers to be employed.
Okay.
Sadly for us, the Teachers Service Commission employed well over 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. And from the investigations that are unfolding now, the government realized that a lot of over 1,000 were sold. People were buying employment for 600,000, 700,000. I mean, we found it is like you yourself cheating yourself against your own state. So that is why the government has decided, because we're law-abiding, to create a panel of investigation. It's ongoing, and we're trying to make sure that the right thing is done. So there's an investigation that's going on to find out who bought what employment, why did they buy it, what should be done, and so on. And then, uniquely, community leaders, traditional rulers are actually even coming forward to the governor to say, no, just absorb those ones that paid and bought the thing. And the governor is saying, how can I do that? How can we necessarily do that? Because of the fact that in teaching, you look for quality people.
Absolutely.
So somebody who goes out to buy employment for 600 or 700,000 may not even be qualified to be a teacher. So the first criteria is not that of sympathy or crime, but to make sure that you look for the right quality of teachers, because you're creating new unborn generations that will build in Nasarawa State. Absolutely. So we're sympathetic about everything, but what government wants to do is to make sure those that bought and sold these things and actually siphoned money from people will be dealt with, and then the proper thing would be done within a measure that you temper justice with mercy, but also trying to secure the future of education in the state.
Absolutely, that's impressive. We know that what the governor is doing, of course, would have less number of out-of-school children in the state. Absolutely. And also, it's touted that Nasarawa State appears to be a very fast-growing state, and a state where people want to come and invest in. So what business opportunities do you think are there for anyone willing to come and invest in the state? Okay,
fantastic. Before His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Esuli, he was Group Managing Director of Dangote Sugar before he became governor. So I think in 2018 when he was campaigning, even before then, he got the international audit firm PricewaterhouseCoopers to come to Nasarawa State and survey the state. What are the potentials of the state? What areas do we need? I mean, before then, people used to call Nasarawa State an agrarian state or a civil service state. In the past, a long time ago, people used to even look at Nasarawa State as a food basket, just like Benue State. Yeah. These potentials were there, but they were largely untapped. So that was what the governor encapsulated in the document called NEDS, Nasarawa Economic Development Strategy. And that has been the economic blueprint within the last 5 years. And the targets were simple. One, the competitive advantage of Nasarawa State should be brought to the fore, and that is solid minerals, agriculture, investment generally as it is, land and so on. These were brought to the fore. Now, if you look at, for instance, solid minerals, or minerals, in fact, completely, why it's called the home of solid minerals. In every local government in Nasarawa State, you have well over 5 solid minerals in every local government. But then before this particular time, now Nasarawa State, under Engineer Abdullah Esuli, has the largest lithium company, Avertha, in the entire country. Wow. And recently the vice president was noting that Nigeria is now into the lithium market courtesy of Nasarawa State. So what you're doing with that is data is being used and right investment is going on. Now, if you look at all the other sectors as well, generally, he wanted to move the state from just being an agrarian or a civil service state to a state that was competitive. What you mean by competitive is visibility. You show that the state has the potential, it can attract investment, it is secure to protect investment, and it becomes a preferred investment destination. And within Nigeria, Nasarawa State has moved from the backyard of being civil service oriented to the forefront of investment. Now we're among the top 3 most competitive states in the entire country.
True.
The Nasarawa State Investment Summit 1 and 2, the very first one generated well over $500 million in one sitting. And you see astronomically everything that is happening. The Nasarawa State Technology Village in Karu is hybrid. It's almost like Silicon Valley in the United States of America. The Guruku-Kabusu Smart Industrial City is 13,000 hectares of land. In Abuja, you have, Mpape. From Mpape upwards is Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State government has paid investment and is inviting investors to come and build within that Guruku-Kabusu axis. And 13,000 hectares is larger than the city of Paris. It's larger than the city of Geneva. It's 10 times the size of Gwarimpa. It's within Nasarawa State, providing schools, colleges, sophisticated work. Then if you come back to Wamba and you come to Farinrua, the road between Mama up to the fields of the waterfalls has now opened up that access for ecotourism. So the idea is to create a film village within the Farinrua Falls. So the falls is not just there for holidays. People can actually come and make their movies and you generate finances. So if you look at all of this and you come down to the IGR of the state, the internally generated revenue, now the state is well over 1.5 billion we can generate through a centralized billing system. And then with the sudden discovery of oil in Obi, Kiana, you're dealing with a state that is an oil-rich state, a state that is an agricultural mega powerhouse, is a state that's cascading with wealth. Because if you look at, Tunga Sugar Refinery of Dangote is going to be the largest in Africa, taking care of over 30 needs of sugar. That is going to be bigger than the one in Sudan. Olam already is the largest rice producing place. So even the government itself has now gone to Jangwa to look at how we can begin to cultivate, land for food security. So everywhere is open. And with an economic advisory council that we had, people are coming in to invest. You can bring hotels here. You can do your movies here. You can not just create a lithium company. You can do everything you want to do in Nasarawa. It is, as far as I'm concerned, is the most peaceful, most secure state, at least within the North Central axis. If you look at Benue to the flank, you look at Kaduna, either south or north, or even Plateau or Kogi, all of the states, or Taraba around Nasarawa State, you would see that this is like a very peaceful oasis for investors to come. So whatever it is that a person is thinking about bringing to Nasarawa State, what the government has successfully done in the last 5 years is to open up the state and say, we're here, we're serious for business, and we're the perfect location to welcome your investment. So any investment you think of would actually work well in Nasarawa State right now.
That is great. We are here and we are serious for business. And you said we're actually very blessed with lots of things in Nasarawa State here. And then talking about the film industry, so Nasarawa State appears to be a state that is blessed with so many individuals, especially the youth. That's in the area of music, acting, drama, dance, in fact, the entire creative industry. But then there appears to be no governing body, no coordinated body or agency of the government that is there to recognize these youths, to motivate them or empower them. What do you have to say about this?
A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that I studied theater arts as one of my degrees.
Wow.
I was president of theater arts students in University of Jos. And I also studied film, movies, making films in Ohio University. I was the first person selected by Ford Foundation in New York, first ever, to go over and study film on the program called the IFT International Fellows Program. I spent about 6 years in Ohio University, and my documentary film called Once Upon Nigeria, Life and Times of Aminu Kano, was overall winning film in 2008 at the Zuma Film Festival. I've acted in about 4 movies, including two movies in the United States, one of which was sci-fi. I compose music, I write songs myself. We had a music production studio in Jos called Lenscope Media, where we produced the very first debut song of P Square. Their mother, late mother, brought them Jude and their brother Jude and Peter and Paul. They came over and we produced them. And she asked me, I remember then, she asked me whether her children, the 2 of them, Peter and Paul, will become good musicians. And I said, no, ma. I said, they're dancers because they're very good dancers. They were in a secondary school called Semarumba Boys School in Zaria Road in Jos. So So basically, the point I'm trying to say is that for us, our lives reflect the life of show business, particularly in northern Nigeria. Jos is blessed with a lot of talent. I'm not talking of the MI. I'm talking of those that gave birth to those that gave birth to them MI. Even back to people who do gospel, like Dr. Pranam Percy Paul. And Nasarawa State is also a chip of Jos. So Benue Plateau State, and then it was separated, and then Nasarawa was excavated from Plateau State. Nasarawa State is blessed, even as a baby of creativity from the womb of Jos. I have been a disc jockey, a DJ on Cool FM in Lagos and in Abuja, but most of my tutelage in entertainment was in music in 90.5 FM in Jos. In Nasarawa State, people like us that are privileged to serve with government, and people like us who are in show business know the value of art, the value of music, creativity, copyright, and intellectual property. Now, if you look at a very unique signature song of Nasarawa State by our son, a young man, Ozzy, who is in Lagos, he sings, "I'm proud to come from Nasarawa State." It's a song that people in the village listen to and they feel a sense of pride, like, oh my God, this identifies me, it extols me, it humanizes me, It gives me presence, identity, and place in this country, wherever. But you see, you have to explain it in both political parlance as well as capitalization. The current government of Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has created an industry called culture, tourism, and the creative economy. The creative economy has music, it has films, it has stage, it has theater, it has spectacle, and so much of everything that is happening. Those of us that are privileged to be within the political sphere where policy is made, because this thing all stems from policy. I remember 3 years or so back when we were talking with His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Isule about his dreams and vision for Farinwat Falls. He said he had lived his life in America and he knows the value of music. He knows the value of movies. And we should try to convert Farinwat Falls to become like Niagara Falls or any of these falls where you do international movies and they pay government. And that's why he looked for 2-point-something billion to do that road. Because the dream to open up Farinwat Falls started from Abdullahi Adamu, but nothing was ever done. People would say, oh, there's a beautiful fall. How do you even get there? How do you create hotels around there? How do you create a film village around here? So I think that all of this is encapsulated in the National Economic Development Strategy of the governor. The thing is for us to encourage ourselves to even put in much more. And I'm talking about even government, not just Engineer Abdullahi Isule, but other governors from particularly here, the northern part of the country, for us to realize that, you see, creativity is what humanizes the people. It provides employment, it sensitizes the people, it illuminates their life, it even preserves their history in an age of corrosion of cultural memory. Sure. So in Nasarawa State, back to your precise question, we're doing the very best that we can at the level of policy, and we're still talking to the governor. Thankfully, we have a governor that is investment driven, who is enlightened, and I expected that at a point in time we had one of the biggest icons in entertainment, the late governor of Nasarawa State, His Excellency Ali Akwe Doma, I was theatre arts president, so we sort of worship him. He was the very first person to study theatre arts in the whole of northern Nigeria.
Wow.
And most of all the art councils in the whole of northern Nigeria were created by Ali Akwedoma. He took Nigeria, I think in 1968, for the first World Festival, Cultural Festival. And he was part of those that brought Festac 1977, to Nigeria. And he was part of that organic team. So for somebody like that, he would understand what it means to have a very strong and very vibrant cultural troupe. So many other states are using songs to brand themselves. The one from Akwa Ibom, and he taught us. He said, "Akwa Ibom, ayaya." Akwa Ibom is,
you can apply for Eri,
exactly
for Uyo,
and you come back to it, so you understand.
The love at home.
You're missing exactly, and you want to come back to Akwa Ibom.
Exactly.
So I was listening to, I was watching a recent clip of what's this guy's name? That Igbo guy. The one that did Father, the Fino. He was saying that, look, he would not rap in English. He would rap in Igbo. Because if he raps in English, he can't do it better than the English people.
Exactly.
So but when he does it in Igbo and he wears his dresses, people are curious, what are you saying? And so on and so forth. So I think that politically, we're gradually getting to the point where highly enlightened people who will be political office holders would know the value of intellectual property, of artistic resonance, of supporting the creative industry. With over 70% of young people in the creative industry, we need to put so much to music, to film, to dance, to pageantry, to fashion design, the way you're looking, and all of that. We need to do that because it gives expression to our youth and, changes the landscape of what we're doing. We're doing the best that we can. And I can assure you that before some of us are done and we finally retire and resign from, the politics. We have just 2 years to disappear, and we would do our best to see that there's an agency for it in Nasarawa State and maybe a film school. And so the legacy will be that we studied it, but we were able to influence government to do so much more for the younger ones coming. And my final word is to encourage those that are in the creative industry. Please don't give up. Don't give up. When I was a DJ in PRTV Jaws, I think they were being paid 5 naira. And they don't even pay us for 6 months. And in 1995, I was junior in a program on NTA network called Shadows. Every Sunday they show me. I was junior, the son of Douglas Amakri. My father, the Douglas Amakri, would be in Tazu this weekend for Motion Picture Practitioners Association MOP and meet in Sani Mazu. Okay. And I was like a young person that was a star then in 1990, before the advent of all of these movies. But then we were doing network drama. Like after Behind the Clouds and Cockroach Dawn, ours was called Shadows. But we will not be paid for 6 months. We trek to locations and we shoot. If you're in art, you must know that it's not money for hand, back for gram. It is your love and passion. So the youths of Nasarawa State who are creative, don't give up. Keep coming and keep doing it. Sooner than later, you'll reach your El Dorado.
You heard him. Do not give up. Sooner than later, you reach your El Dorado. Thank you very much for making our time to be here with us today. It's our pleasure. We are so thrilled to have you. Thank you very much for watching. Until we come your way next time, stay jiggy.